Okay, so today in our review book, if you could get that out, we are going to, I'm going to try, let's see, okay, we've done that, we haven't done that, we've done that, we haven't done that, we've done that, we've done that. Okay, so let's do a whole page over fiscal policy.
What a sad
A whole page over fiscal policy.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yay.
That was not. That was a lie. I apologize.
Okay, well, since I'm recording this, if you could keep your random comments to yourself, that would be great.
Yeah, Jack.
I don't know about that.
Okay, this is not a flattering angle. Okay, so fiscal policy. What are the tools of fiscal policy? Oh no, what is the definition? Who is that? Sarah? Someone let Sarah in.
Sacrifice for eligibility. Is it like a 65? Is it a 60 or 70?
If it's AP, it's 60 or above. For
60 or above?
Yeah. But for like passing, you have to be a 70.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, does anyone know the definition? Which would contain the tools inside of the definition of fiscal policy? Yes. Changing taxes and or government spending to regulate which graph, which line? Aggregate demand. Oh, this is painful. Okay. Okay. So it is when government uses taxes and or government spending to influence aggregate demand. Because government spending is a direct shifter of aggregate demand, and changing taxes would directly change our what is it called? Our income after we pay taxes? Disposable income. So it directly changed our disposable income, and that changed how much money we have to spend. So like if there's an example number 1, we're in a recession. Yes? Olivia, where's LRAS if we're in a recession, if this is our graph? If we're in a recession. Is that left or right? Left. Over here? Are you sure? It's over here. LRAS if we're in a recession. Should be to the right of equilibrium. Okay, so what should the government... Oh, let's do... when we're talking about each scenario, we're going to do automatic and discretionary fiscal policy. And so the discretionary fiscal policy is when the government actually tries to do fiscal policy. Like they purposely change taxes and government spending. So off to the side, here's our discretionary fiscal policy.
Wait, we have like... Oh, yeah, we do. So, for the practice exam and then can I like make a video because those always come?
A video of what?
Just whatever we go over.
Like in tutoring?
I'm confused. Like, you want me to record
like
class?
First semester, you like did videos for like the tests.
No.
First semester?
What are you talking about?
No.
Oh, the first one.
No, I know what he's saying. I remember I recorded tutoring.
Yeah, those literally, I watch those and I get 90s on my test.
Okay, well, I can start recording these things that we're doing, but
A little late.
I can't. I mean, I can start doing that, and then you can listen to those. I'm recording this one right now. Hi. Yeah.
What's that, G?
What's that?
No. Okay, discretionary fiscal policy, when the government actually decides to, if it's a recession, what are they going to cut? They're going to purposely cut taxes and increase government spending.
Yes, we do.
Both of those are going to increase aggregate demand. Of course, even if they do nothing, they can still have fiscal policy. It would just be automatic fiscal policy. And automatic fiscal policy is still the changing of taxes and government spending, but not done by an act of Congress, but more like, oh, taxes accidentally changed, or government spending accidentally changed. We didn't force that, but it is taxes and government spending. And so how would taxes naturally fall during a recession, Jack?
Because taxes would fall because you have less people making that much more money, so they'd fall in tax brackets, which means less taxes.
Okay. And so people naturally move down tax brackets and end up spending less in taxes, not because the government cut their taxes, just because they're making so little money in a recession. So people move down tax brackets as they get paid less. Because remember, we have a progressive tax structure. The more money you make, the higher percentage of taxes you'll pay. The less money you make, the less money in taxes you'll pay. And Daniel, what did you say about the government spending one? Yeah. And who is paying for that? That's government spending, accidental government spending going up as more people on welfare. So government spending goes up because more people are on welfare. Angela, did you have your hand up?
What happens if there's no progressive tax structure?
Then it gets rid of automatic. Okay, these are also called, I don't know if you have room to put like also known as automatic stabilizers. So it stabilizes aggregate demand automatically. So it could be called automatic fiscal policy, but there is an automatic monetary policy. We just haven't covered it yet. And it's just automatic stabilizers. So without a progressive tax structure, we would not have the tax bracket ones. We'd still have welfare probably, but we would lose half of our automatic fiscal policy capabilities. Okay, but either way, if you do either of these things, if you do this or allow these to naturally happen, aggregate demand will shift to the right, and price level goes up, and real GDP goes up. Fantastic. But what about like in the long run? So this is still example one, that there's a recession, but like, oh, what is this called? What type of policy? It's discretionary and it's automatic, but we're trying to increase, so it's expansionary. So in a recession, we'll do expansionary policy. Expansionary policy. And so let's talk about now the long run effects of that expansionary policy. All of this is short run. All of this is like the first immediate effect of like people spend more money if you cut their taxes. But this is all about like now long run effects.
Of recession.
Still in a recession. Long run effects of expansionary fiscal policy. Long run effects of expansionary fiscal policy. What graph are we talking about here?
PPA.
No. Loanable funds. I heard a couple people mention kind of loanable funds. It was Sarah. Okay, so long run effects of fiscal policy is that it creates a deficit is created. A government deficit is created. Government deficit is created, and then that's because, well, taxes are low and government spending is high. That is what a deficit is when the government spends more money than it collects in taxes. Well, if a deficit is created, how are they going to fix the deficit? How does the government fix the deficit? They take out loans. They go to banks. Okay, so if the government deficit is created, to fix this deficit, the government borrows money from banks. To fix this deficit, the government borrows money from banks. Okay. I'm going to write out one possible scenario. You may go either direction. You might say, leaving less supply of loanable funds for everybody else. Or you could say, creating more demand of loanable funds from the banks. Whatever you guys shift, when you guys talk about crowding out and you have loanable funds, remember you can either shift supply to the left or demand to the right, but however you do it, whatever's most comfortable for you, you're going to write out that scenario. I always shift supply to the left. But if you want demand to the right, then you're going to say more demand for loans. But I'm going to say leaving less supply of loans. Leaving less supply of loans. Interest rates go up. Investment spending goes down. Long-run economic growth goes down. And then off to the side, I'm just going to draw a little tiny loanable funds graph. Cherry, do you remember what the y-axis was on loanable funds? Was it real or nominal interest rates? It was not. It was real. Sorry, I had to think for myself as well. Real interest rates, quantity of loanable funds, demand and supply. Now, whatever scenario you just wrote about, if you said more demand, you shift demand. If you just wrote about more supply, you shift supply. I wrote about supply. I literally have less supply. That's to the left. That's interest rates going up, like I just wrote about, and investment spending going down. That's scenario one. How are we on room? Are we about a half? Okay, good. If we're at a half or less than a half, then we've got room. If we're more than a half, we're writing all the same thing but opposite now. So maybe like a little less room. Yeah, we should be good. Okay. Does anyone need me to like say that all over again, or are we good when it comes to like expansion and fiscal policy? Say it all over again, Jack. Okay. We want to expand the economy when in a recession. The government can choose to expand the economy purposely with discretionary fiscal policy, or they can let our natural automatic stabilizers adjust it on its own. Either way, during a recession, we want taxes to go down and government spending to go up, because if people have less money to spend in taxes, then they buy more things and consumption would go up. Or if the government spending naturally goes up, that's part of the aggregate demand like graph anyway, so it's going to go up anyway. Anyway, so aggregate demand goes up if they do those things, but in the long run, if you have less taxes and spend more, the government's going to have a deficit. Oh no, we ran out of money, so we're going to borrow money from the banks to cover this deficit. Of course, the borrowing of that money raises interest for everybody else. So really, when they were trying to like fix it in the short run, in the long run, we're going to have less economic growth because there'll be less investment spending and less capital stock. Yeah. Almost like I do it for a living. Okay.
Capital stock
Yes.
is manipulated because of the fact that there's not enough, like, so say I'm doing the supply, right? So it's
That's supply of loanable funds, though. That's
Right.
not supply. That's not aggregate supply.
No, I know, but
Okay.
So is it lessened because there's like less loan?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't take out a loan to buy pizza ovens if the interest rates are too high, and so there'll be less pizza ovens, which is capital stock. So now, did I say situation one? Or did
Example.
I say? Example one. Okay. Example two. Example two. What's the problem now?
Inflation.
Inflation. What type of fiscal policy are they going to do?
Contraction.
They're going to do contraction in fiscal policy. We're going to have an aggregate supply and demand graph and an inflationary gap.
Did you put up there that you were doing expansionary?
I did.
Oh.
I came back and I rewrote it because I forgot about it the first time, but yeah. Okay, we're in an inflation. We need to slow down spending because, well, prices being too high takes away purchasing power. Your dollar doesn't go as far. It's not good. So let's slow down the spending. So they can do this on purpose and have discretionary fiscal policy. have a number? Did I put number 1?
No.
I want to do it like. Okay, discretionary fiscal policy. Got it. They can do the opposite. They can raise taxes or cut spending. They can raise taxes or they can cut spending. Government spending. Raising taxes gives you less money to spend, so you'll spend less. Cutting government spending, well, it means there's less spending if the government's spending less. Either way, that's going to slow down aggregate demand. Or they can just wait for automatic fiscal policy to kick in. Grant, how do taxes naturally go up if there's a period of inflation?
Right, price increase. No, the value of the dollar increase.
Think about people's income levels.
So
And
there's
what?
gonna be like more tax brackets.
Right. Look how well I'm doing. I'm gonna my wage is going up, my income's going up. I'm gonna be moving into a higher tax bracket, and bam, that's a higher tax cut.
People in more tax.
Yes, people move up tax brackets as their incomes go up, and that's higher taxes right there. That's contractionary automatic fiscal policy. So people move up higher tax brackets as their income goes up, as incomes go up. And remember, incomes are going up because we're in a period of inflation. Everything's going up. And government naturally spends less money because there's no really money on welfare if the economy is like overheated. Everyone has a job. So very few people on welfare. Very few people on welfare makes government spending go down. Either way, you do either of these things, like you purposely do it with discretionary, or like let automatic stabilizers just make automatic fiscal policy happen. Either way, aggregate demand is going to shift back to the left, lowering both the price level and GDP. And that's what we wanted. Of course, there is some long run effects of contractionary fiscal policies. Okay.
Are we writing anything under this?
Like after we finish the scenario? No.
Is this all we used to?
With fiscal?
Wait, how long is this last period?
I have no idea.
It's
Maybe
until
8-11.
10:17.
No, that's not right.
Whoa. Be here for 2 more hours.
10:17. Sweetie, it's 8 o'clock.
8:17.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hold
Can you
on.
finish this, please?
We have 2
Yes,
hours
I'm
left.
just
We're
looking.
fine.
8:13.
Getting upset.
We have 2
One
Wait,
minute.
hold on.
Do we have 1 minute?
Can we just work till the bell rings?
No.
Yeah, I just want to know when that is, Terry. That's not right. Does it say 8:13? That's in 1 minute.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's supposed to-
Class
I think
is out
second
at
period starts at
8:09.
8:17.
Please, please, please.
Okay.
That's not a clear part.
Yeah, that's still.
There is a government surplus.
Yes.
Sorry, Sergio. I hate to stop your
I
writing.
already wrote it down.
There's a government surplus because high taxes and low government spending. Less demand for loanable funds. Loanable funds.
not
No.
doing this.
Demand, supply, less, interest rates go down.
Alright.
No, you can't.
We're doing it on Monday. I'm not.
No, we're not.
No? Okay.
What do you mean?
We're not going to finish this. I have the video, so I'm posting it. If also, you can interest rates go down, investment spending goes up, more capital,
I have the ability.
and higher long run growth. Now I'm done. Man, saved by the bell, I
Bye,
guess.
class.
That's a